This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
NFL Draft tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. Programming here on VSiN is going to be awesome. It's going to be Humans and Murray on the show, going through the entire event, grading their picks, trying to maybe give out some winners live based on the numbers that you're going to find at certain sports books and maybe prediction markets as well. And we go out to the Progressive guest line right now. Walter Cherepinsky joins the program. WalterFootball.com is the website. They do a great job. And Charlie Campbell is on the website as well. He joined us on Monday. He has been the most accurate mock drafter going back the last 9 or 10 years per NFL media. And Walter, thanks for the time today. How are you?
Good. Exhausted, preparing for the draft, but I'm excited to talk about it. So thanks for having me on again.
You bet.
Thank
you.
I'm
pretty sure it was you and Charlie on the website responsible for moving the market here for the 5th pick overall. Jordan Tyson to go to the Giants at that number. Right now at FanDuel, he's the second shot on the board at plus 290. And Charlie mentioned that briefly on the show on Monday. What number did you guys get on him?
I think Charlie had a better number than I did because I know he bet it. Then he sent over the pick to me. And then when I got it, I had to bet it right away before posting it. I got plus 700 on Jordan Tyson to go number 5. And yeah, like you said, the number has come crashing down. And I think it makes a lot of sense. The Giants want to give Jackson Dart a weapon to work with. Malik Neighbors coming off the torn ACL. And every pick from 6 to 9 can draft Jordan Tyson. The Browns need a receiver. Washington needs a receiver across from McLaurin. The Saints need a receiver across from Olave. And then you have the Chiefs with Rashee Rice getting into trouble all the time. All those teams could draft him. So it's not like they can wait till 10. I think they have to take him at 5 if they like him that much. And it sounds like they do.
So if they go with him at 5, then at number 10, what do you think they do? Do they back that up with an offensive lineman, or do they switch it completely and maybe go the defensive player?
I think if one of the premium defensive players is on the board, they would take him. The person who stands out to me the most is Mansour Delane, the cornerback from LSU. If he's there, and look, he can come off the board at 9 or 8. Some team could move up for him. Maybe Dallas moves ahead of the Giants at 10. All that could happen. But if Delane is there at 10, I'm pretty confident that they're going to take him at 10. If he's not there, they can go offensive lineman. But Delane is someone that we bet on as well.
What do you think of all this Jeremiah Love hype and the fact that he could go number 3 to Arizona? He's favored at DraftKings to go number 3 and number 4. Where do you stand on Love?
So I think he's a great prospect. I think it's the wrong pick for those teams. I always maintain that if you draft a running back in the first round, you have to be a team that's ready to win right away. Like the Lions when they took Jahmyr Gibbs a few years ago. They had a great roster already. They already had a good running back, but they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs to take him over the top. It's kind of like the Eagles signing, it's not the draft, but signing Saquon Barkley to get them over the top, and it worked. The Cardinals and the Titans are kind of like the Raiders last year, where the Raiders drafted Ashton Genty. He was another great prospect, but he was getting hit in the backfield all the time because they couldn't block. And I worry the same thing is going to happen to Love with Arizona and Tennessee. Both those teams have issues on the offensive line. I know Arizona wants to trade down. Tennessee, I'm sure, would like to trade down. I'm not sure about them, but I do know Arizona wants to move down. The problem is finding a suitor to move up in this draft class, which is not very exciting and not filled with top end talent. So if Arizona stays at 3, I think they're going to take the best player available. And it sounds like they really like Jeremiah Love, and he's someone we bet on as well to go number 3.
Okay. Have you bet any exactas? I know that some books were offering top 3. I'm looking right now. Boy, DraftKings now has top 5. It feels like hitting the exact 5 this year would be mission impossible. But if you had to bet an exacta, let's say top 3 right now, it's going to go Mendoza, then who, and then obviously Love at number 3.
That's the $1 million question right now. Bailey was the favorite this morning, and now Arvell Reese is the favorite. I don't think anyone knows, or maybe someone who bet Reese in the past few hours knows. It's a weird situation. We don't have a read on it. I wish we did, but the Jets have been so tight-lipped these days. Back a few years ago, we used to be able to predict them like the sun rising, every day. It was so easy to guess what they were going to do. But now they don't let anything slip by. We know that they canceled the top 30 visit with David Bailey, but I don't think that means all that much because they didn't have a top 30 visit with their previous 3 draft picks either. So we'll see. Right now, if I had to guess, I think they would go Bailey. So Mendoza, Bailey, Love, but it could easily be Reese. I'm not betting the exact. Something I did do in the top 5 was I parlayed Jordan Tyson to go top 5 and also Jeremiah Love to go top 5. I think we got 9-1 on that.
Okay. What do you think happens at 4 then if Love is gone at number 3 and he was projected to the Titans obviously for weeks, and how would they pivot?
So it sounds like they would go with the other one, who would not go with 2, whether it's Arvo Reese or David Bailey. I think that makes the most sense. I know Sonny Styles has entered the conversation. I believe as of a couple hours ago, he was the favorite to go number 4. I'm not sure where that is right now, but there was a report on X saying that the Titans would definitely not take Sonny Styles at 4. And I could see Styles falling, which is strange because he could go 4, but in my mock draft, I have him going 12 to Dallas with the caveat that I think the Cowboys are going to trade up a few spots to take him, because when you get past it, like the Giants at 5, we're pretty sure they're not going to take him. They're going to take Tyson instead. The Browns at 6, they don't need a linebacker. At 7, it sounds like Washington prefers Carnell Tate over him, and you keep dropping, and you can't find a spot for a linebacker. So it's a strange situation, and it's really not a premium position where off-ball linebackers tend to fall in the draft, kind of like safeties. So they're usually mocked much earlier than they go, and then they tend to fall, and then people are surprised all the time, even though it happens all the time. But it is a possibility. I mean, again, we're not quite sure what the Titans are going to do outside of the fact that we knew that they liked Jeremiah Love beforehand. But yeah, if Love is off the board, I think it's going to be. I think it will be the Reese or Bailey, whoever the Jets don't take.
Okay. So we played a clip earlier from Jay Glazer, and he also was like projecting, and he said on our radio yesterday that he's got a bombshell, but he can't say it yet. He can't say it until the team's on the clock, right? And then you see Daniel Jeremiah's final mock draft last night. He had the Saints moving up to number 3. Are you guys hearing anything about like that, the team that could go to 3, and could it be the Saints?
I was told today that the Cardinals are expected to stay at 3, even though they'd love to trade down. I just think that they're not getting the trade offers they want. From Dallas, they wanted 12 and 20. Dallas does not want to give up 20. So I don't. If it sounds like the Cardinals just won a lot, now maybe they kind of relent and take less value than they initially thought. And if they trade down, I think they would take Mawanoa, and the team that moves up to 3 would take the Reese/Bailey player who does not go number 2. So it's still possible, but from what I was told a few hours ago, the Cardinals are expected to stay at 3, but it's anyone's guess right now whether that changes or not.
Okay,
are they going to go Ty Simpson at the end of the round?
I think so. I have them moving up from 34 to 32 to take Ty Simpson. That trade makes so much. Like I said on Friday when I was on your show, I hate projecting trades in my mock drafts, but I only do it when I believe there's a high chance it happens. And Seattle at 32, they only have 4 picks in this entire draft. They want to move down. I'll be surprised if they pick at 32. And then Arizona wants the 5th-year option with Ty Simpson. And they really like Ty Simpson. So I think they move from 34 to 32. Maybe they move up a little bit earlier than that. They've had trade history with the Texans. I can see them moving into the mid-20s. But I think that they will make a move for Simpson at the end of the night.
Okay. So other than that, maybe finding a number on Simpson overall to go in the first round or specifically to the Cardinals, any other bets that you would recommend here as we're 3 hours and 22 minutes away from the draft?
So a couple of things. One was that we had Caden Proctor over Monroe Freeling. That line moved as well. I still think it's worth betting, though. Proctor is someone who has generated a lot of interest. Charlie Campbell posted a rumor mill entry today talking about how the Lions would be interested in moving up for Caden Proctor. So the Lions, maybe that's the bombshell. Maybe the Lions move from 17 past the Dolphins or maybe past the Giants. Maybe they move up to 9 or 8. I could see that happening. So we like him over Freeling, who's not as great as a prospect as people were making him out to be earlier. And speaking of the Dolphins, we kind of narrowed it down to 2 main potential selections for them. And then one possibility is someone we can hedge with. So the two guys we like, Caden Proctor, which is why they'd have to move ahead of the Dolphins, because we know the Dolphins like Proctor, and then Ruben Bain is the other one. I have Bain going to the Chiefs at 9, but if he makes it past the Chiefs, I think the Dolphins would be really interested in Bain. And then the one we would hedge with at 11 would be Caleb Downs. It's hard to find a spot for a safety. I currently have him number 8, but if he doesn't go 8, he could drop, as we've seen last year. Malachi Starks dropped. He went to the mid-20s. We had Nick Manwari. He dropped as well. Like I said before, safeties, off-ball linebackers, they tend to drop all the time. And so if he falls to Miami at 11, he could be the pick there. So we'd like that as a hedge for the other two.
Okay, very good. And yeah, all these books now are offering basically which player is going to go at every single number in the first round, which I don't recall happening in previous drafts. So good for them for booking that anyway. Walter, that was great. Thanks so much. Best of luck with the draft tonight, okay?
All right, thanks so much for having me on.
There you go.
Thank you.
Walter Cherepinski. The website is walterfootball.com. He's on X at Walter Football. They do a great job year-round covering this event. Paulie has win-lose up next, and I'll give you what a couple of odds makers told me about the number they would have had for Game 3 if Wemby was definitely playing next year on VSiN.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. With VSiN Pro, you get access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah. This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
It's good to have you on board. This is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Thanks for watching on YouTube TV, listening on Sirius XM Channel 158, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, or any of our great affiliates across the country. We begin this hour by talking more NFL draft. We go to the progressive guest line. John Ledyard joins the program now. You can follow him on X at Ledyard NFL Draft. Also, the Read Optional Pod with Ollie Connolly as well. John, thanks for the time today. How are you? I'm not hearing him. Are you, Paulie? Okay.
We were just talking to him.
We'll reconnect here in a second, I think, and get him on. He covers the event, covers the Steelers, covers the Buccaneers, and the entire NFL in general. We'll talk about those two teams specifically, and got to get his thoughts overall, too, by the way, on a trade that happened inside Pittsburgh's own division. And my gut reaction when it actually took place was I hated it for the Bengals. I thought they gave up way too much for a guy that's 29 years old. Damn good player, but we'll get his thoughts on that as well when we connect with him tonight. And
he had a great tweet, by the way, whenever it was when Rodgers told the Steelers, I'll have my mind made up by the draft. Rest assured, no problem. He's, do you know who you're dealing with here? That came and went.
This isn't the first time Rodgers has done this?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. How long do you think it's been?
I'll let you know, guys. I'll give you plenty of time what I'm going to do in the future.
How many years ago was it when Schefter came out on draft day talking about Rodgers' future?
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't that like 5 years ago now already?
Yeah.
I mean, how is it possible that this happened with
that I want more input or I'm leaving type of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it happened with back-to-back Green Bay quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Happened with Favre every single year.
Yeah, right, true.
Okay, so I think we have John now. John, before we get into some of these teams specifically and what you think they're going to do tonight, a team inside Pittsburgh's own division made a pretty big trade recently, and that was Cincinnati, obviously giving up the 10th pick overall for defensive lineman Dexter Lawrence. What did you make of that trade when the news broke?
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you understand why they do it, because they're in a window where if they don't win pretty soon, their quarterback is going to ask to get out of town. So they can't obviously be in that position. So I think for them, it makes complete sense when you think about the context of where their team is at. But because they've drafted poorly and they've done a poor job in free agency, and some would say even a poor job within their own organization of retaining talent over the years, it has led to this kind of catastrophic depletion of their own roster, to the point where you kind of have to do things like this because you haven't hit on a lot of the margin moves over the years that you've really needed to hit on. So they're a defense devoid of talent at a lot of key spots, definitely on their front. They have not had many positive additions there in recent years, despite trying quite hard in the draft. They've drafted a lot of players, and a lot of them haven't hit. And so because of that, they feel like they have to go out and make moves like this. I think the real context of the situation is Dexter Lawrence is like a 340, 350 pound man who probably isn't going to age the same way Chris Jones and Cam Hayward and Calais Campbell have aged. Like those guys have aged awesome, but they're much lighter, more athletic type of players. And Dexter Lawrence 2 years ago injured, and when he was healthy, he was really good, but he played about half of the normal snaps that he played. And then last year wasn't the same player, and some of that probably effort and situation and all kinds of things like that. But are we just positive that the Bengals culture is so good that none of the conditioning stuff that crept up with Lawrence before, or the little nicks and knacks that happen as you get older, are going to creep up again and contribute to his effort? I think it's a really risky move. I think to trade 10 overall is a big price for it. So if he's at his best and we get peak Dexter Lawrence from 2 years ago, then 2-3 years ago, then it's possible that it works out for them. I would bet against it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Okay, so it's in Pittsburgh tonight, the draft is. Let's begin. The Steelers are picking 21st overall and betting on which position they're going to go with their first overall player. Wide receiver is even money. Offensive lineman is plus 150. Safety is 5-1. Then it goes down beyond that. Which position would you be looking at there?
I think they'll look pretty heavily at offensive line and wide receiver, and I would be surprised if it's not either of those two positions. I think there's a couple targets for them. I think they really hope that Venga Ioane gets into the teens, and I think that the Penn State guard. And I think that if he does, I'm not saying it's advisable to trade up in a draft for a guard, but he's a really good player. And in this draft, there are not a lot of really good players, and he is, I think, one of the best. So I think they would really consider moving up to him. Now, Tampa Bay could be a trade partner. Everybody knows that Tampa Bay wants to move back. So that could be a real landing spot if he gets past the Giants at 10, Baltimore at 14. That's where what the question is. They could also move up for a tackle. I think Monroe Freeling from Georgia is probably a player that's near the top of their list. Perhaps there's another one of these tackles that they like. But Freeling plays and is played on that left side, and it will allow them to keep Troy Fautanu on the right side. So I think those two would be potential targets for them. And I think it's definitely possible that they move up for a receiver too. Although if it were me, I would want to be hanging out at receiver. I don't think there's anybody there worth jumping up the board for. I would want to hang out where they are and probably get Omar Cooper from Indiana. But if they move up, I would bet that it's for Venga Ioane or one of the tackles.
In your mock, you have Arizona taking Love. You think that's going to happen? How confident are you think that happens? And would they be making a mistake?
That's a good question. On one hand, I can see it for Arizona. They don't have a lot of explosive playmaking talent. They really need it offensively. They just do. And I understand that in a draft devoid of it, it's tempting to go take the best most explosive offensive playmaker in the draft. Jeremiah Love is awesome. So it's not an indictment of him when I say that they're just pretty far away. And we haven't really seen running back be the position that closes the gap for a lot of these teams. So in this draft, it is a little bit difficult because there's not exactly a wealth of things. And the word is they want to trade down. So that would be the smart move. That would be the analytically driven move. That would be, looking at the division and saying, hey, we're not topping Seattle and the Rams in this next window anyway. Let's build for the future. That's not how a lot of NFL teams think, but it's probably how they should think given the division that they're in. San Francisco too, as they get healthy again this season. So it would be smart to take the long-term focus. To me, running back is the most short-term position because of how it ages, the injury risk as you get older. There's a lot of different contexts that involves. You need the rest of the group to really be ready to benefit most from that position, I think, and they're not quite there yet. So it wouldn't be the smartest move from a team-building perspective, I think. But on the flip side, I would understand that you want to add – they need explosive. If you watch the Cardinals last season, they're about as slow as any offense that you could see, and they need explosive playmaking talent. So I would understand he would add something to them. He is better than Ashton Genty at what last year. I feel confidently about that. It just wouldn't be the right move from a value long-term perspective, I think.
Well said.
Yes.
Where are you at with the number 2 pick overall? Because it looks like Reese now is turning out to the favorite yet again. He was about $1.45 or so when the show started, and he has taken some money at some of the biggest sports books in the world. I think I'm seeing him up to almost $2 now at one of those offshore books. Who do you think goes number 2?
I think it's Reese. I would be lying if I told you I feel real confident in it, but I have gone back and forth on this one. I've talked to everybody that I know. It seems like there's a different opinion everywhere I look. I literally came down to this, guys. This is what I came down to. I just don't think Aaron Glenn would like a David Bailey as a player as much as, and I think he's making the decision. I don't think he'd like David Bailey as a player as much as he'd like Arvell Reese. So unless ownership steps in or somebody else pulls rank somewhere that I don't know about, as far as I know, this is Aaron Glenn's draft. He's making the pick. He's called the shots this offseason, got what he wants. So I just believe it's his pick, and I just think he will watch the tape and he'll say, Arvell Reese, this guy just bodies people. He is absolutely relentless. He says and does all the right things. David Bailey, really good player, super talented. Effort kind of can come and go a little bit. There's some questions more about David Bailey just in terms of like how engaged is he within the organization? Is he the cultural leader? Or is he kind of a fall in line guy? Nothing wrong with that if he is that, but I think they just feel like they need a leader, and I think they think Arvell Reese might be that guy. You talk to the coaches at Ohio State and they just go crazy about Arvell Reese and just his commitment to be great and how dialed in he is for the game. And I think that's just going to carry a ton of weight with Aaron Glenn. He's going to want the culture thing is going to matter to him a ton. And I just think Reese is more his type of dude. That's literally it. That's what I'm basing it off of.
Fair enough. I mean, it's like we're all throwing darts here basically at the number 2 overall pick, the way it seems, which is unlike basically any other draft in recent years. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. John Ledyard, our guest, talking NFL draft. Also the Buccaneers, and you said maybe moving down. If that doesn't happen, even if it does, like the first drafted player, like the top 4 positions are relatively close to each other, although defensive line is a short shot at even money. Then you have O-line, tight end, and cornerback all under 4-1. What are you thinking there?
It's good if they trade down, which is what they want to do. Make no mistake about it. The Bucs absolutely want to get out of that 15 spot. It's just going to be a matter of who falls into the teens and whether teams want to come up for a player. If they can get out of 15, their ideal landing spot, 20 where the Cowboys are, 21 where the Steelers are, 23 where Philly is. Would any of those teams be looking to come up for a player? The Cowboys trying to get ahead of the Vikings for Dylan Thieneman maybe, or perhaps move up for a tackle. That's being slept on for the Cowboys. And the Cowboys always surprise in round 1, and now they've got 2 picks. So I think they are destined to surprise us and probably shake things up at some point in round 1. But I think there's a real chance a move up there could happen for an offensive lineman, for Thieneman, who they like. If they don't take him with their early pick, I think the Steelers could be moving up, as I said, for offensive line. The Eagles could be moving up for offensive line or a wide receiver. If this A.J. Brown thing's real and he's out of there, then perhaps they feel like they need to jump some of these teams, the Jets, the Steelers, and some of these other teams that are looking for a wide receiver. So those could all be possibilities, but the Bucs want to get out of there. And if they move back, I think that Akeem Mesidor will be the top pick on their board, top player on their board. I think there's a chance they like Malachi Lawrence. I don't know if they take him there. If they move back further and Mesidor was gone, maybe they'd think about it. But if Mesidor is gone, I think they would think about Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker from Texas Tech. I think that would be high for him, I know. But I think they really like him. Maybe they'd look to move back again. Lots of things are possibilities, but I think more than anything, they know that edge and linebacker are their top needs. So that's where we're going to start. That's where we're going to look. But they're not going to reach. If it's not there and they can't trade back, they will just take the best player on their board. That could be a corner. That could be a wideout. It could surprise some people. I don't think it's going to be Kenyon Sadiq, but I can't totally rule it out because I know Jason Light will go best player available. And there isn't one at a position of need, then he'll just take the best player on their board.
Awesome stuff. You can follow John on X. He's at Ledyard NFL Draft, Ledyard NFL Draft. Joined us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Thanks so much for the time. Enjoy the draft tonight, John.
Absolutely, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Yep, back at you. Really good. Okay.
Excellent.
Maybe because he brought up Malachi Lawrence. He's been mocked several times 20th to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Could the Cowboys trade up to 15 with the Buccaneers and then Malachi Lawrence actually go 20th to the Buccaneers overall? Maybe that could work. Several people have said he's a first-round pick. So up next, tonight's playoff schedule. All 3 road teams are favored tonight. I'll tell you how those teams have done straight up in ATS over the past several years coming up here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
NFL Draft now coming up in 2.5 hours. Guest number 3 today on the program to talk about it. Longtime friend of this show, joins us on a weekly basis throughout the NFL season. Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchian is here on the Progressive Guest Line. What's up, Charch? How are you, buddy?
I am back in Minnesota for the Vikings official draft party at US Bank Stadium. We'll be on stage counting down the 17 picks leading up to the Vikings at number 18 and trying to track what's going on from a Minnesota perspective.
Wait, so you are literally the person on the stage announcing the picks before they're up?
myself, Paul Allen, former Viking Ben Lieber, and former Viking Pete Persich. It takes 4 people to track all of the variables for the Minnesota Vikings. Wow. And yeah, we've been doing this for 20 years as a group, basically. So yeah, long-time friends, and we get to do this every year. It's highlight of the year, watching the Vikings make their selections, most of which don't
hold the phone here. Anymore. Hold the phone. When would you know the pick? What prior notice do you get?
Well, I'll know the pick when everybody else knows the pick. I mean, we don't get inside intel. I mean, we get the pick when it goes live for the world. Yeah.
Okay. How many people show up for this thing?
About 5,000 or 6,000. I mean, they don't. It's all the whole field. So they do the entire field. They got a stage at one end, and then the whole field is just fans.
Oh, damn.
And
okay.
Yeah, it's a big party for everybody who loves the draft and loves, just wants to be part of it, and they want to be, part of the draft experience. It's a blast, and Viking fans show for this.
Okay, so you're obviously very connected to the team. What do we need to know as an audience about the Vikings, maybe with their past drafts going into this one tonight?
Yeah, so the old general manager, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, got fired in February. So now we are looking at a new first-time draft for an interim general manager, Rob Brzezinski. Brzezinski is very highly regarded. He's been a big part of the Vikings front office for 20-plus years. He had been running the cap and was very involved with the front office in a lot of different ways, but he's the interim general manager. The plan is to get the full-time general manager after the draft, of which Brzezinski will be a candidate for that. But what's important to know with an interim general manager, I don't think he's going to have the ownership's approval to make big swings. I don't think you're going to be trading away 2027 assets to try to improve this draft when the team's got to turn around and go hire a new general manager, and you don't want to be short-suited for the upcoming draft. So I think there's going to be just a little more caution here, and I don't think we're going to see big swings out of the interim general manager, Rob Brzezinski. And the other thing I think you need to know about the Vikings, they don't have the luxury of going best player available. They've got some gaping holes that they've got to fill. Right now, this team has basically got 5 starter spots that they don't have an answer for. And even though this is a team that finished the season on 5 straight wins, they don't have a starting center right now. They're missing 2 safeties, 1.5 safeties. They're missing a cornerback. This is a team and a defensive tackle. So there's a lot of things right now that the Vikings need help with. And I also believe that after 4 straight really, really bad drafts with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, unfortunately, I think the Vikings are going to steer towards safe players and just try to get a reasonable return on investment. These big swings the Vikings have taken the last 4 years just haven't panned out at all. And the team's really bereft of young, talented players. I think they're going to play it safe in this draft. So
the second choice to go to Minnesota, Sadiq, 6-1. Why do you dislike that?
Yeah, I don't love it. Especially at that price point, there's a lot of late steam, by the way, in this town, connecting the Oregon tight end, Kenyon Sadiq, to the Vikings. But there's a lot of other landing spots for Sadiq, potentially. He could go as high as Kansas City at 9 as an heir to Travis Kelce. There could be Miami at 11, Baltimore at 14 as they try to move on from Mark Andrews, who I think 31 years old, and Isaiah Likely's gone. Carolina, right after the Vikings, they could hop up a spot or two to go get Kenyon Sadiq. So there's all that working against the Vikings. And then, as I mentioned before, they're missing safeties, cornerbacks, nose tackles, center. They got too many gaping holes when they've already got TJ Hawkinson and an elite blocking tight end and Josh Oliver. They've already committed a lot of money to that spot. I don't see it. I think Sadiq, it's very, very hot right now in this town that Sadiq could go to the Vikings, but I don't think it's going to go that way.
Mm-hmm. To me, that would feel like a luxury pick, and that would mean like the Vikings are knocking on the door to come out of the NFC. And they might have a really good year next year, but I don't think you can afford to take Sadiq 18th overall. So based on that, then who would you target overall?
All right. So, the whole world has been on Dylan Thieneman for the Vikings. After you get past basically like pick 3 in this draft, he's probably the most commonly mocked player to any one team is the Oregon safety to the Minnesota Vikings at 18. And it makes sense. Stylistically, he is so close to Harrison Smith, the Hall of Fame bound safety, win with the Vikings for a dozen years. And Smith has been fantastic, but he is expected to, he hasn't made it officially yet. He's expected to retire. If he does come back, this will certainly be his last year. And they've got to get a safety on this team. And Thieneman, just stylistically, again, so much like Harrison Smith, and especially the way that Thieneman plays at and near the line of scrimmage. At the hike, so oftentimes that it's a safety, he is sitting on a slot corner, and you don't know, is he going to blitz the quarterback? Is he there for run support? Is he going to pick up a tight end? Is Thieneman going to shadow a cornerback? Or is he just going to wheel backwards and go into deep safety? I mean, Thieneman has got all of these traits that Harrison Smith has used beautifully with Brian Flores' defense. So Thieneman is very common. But the problem with betting Thieneman is he's plus 200. I mean, that's just... the value there is so low that even though he's the probable selection for Minnesota at 18, plus 200, there's so many variables in a draft, including several teams after the Vikings that need safety, and they could hop above the Vikings. That I don't love the value at plus 200 on Thieneman to Minnesota at 18.
Okay, well then follow it up with a guy that's maybe, if you want to look at a value shot then, based on what you were saying there, if Thieneman is going to go before that or somebody trades up, who would you look at?
Here's my dark horse, and it's plus 1,600. And I believe this player is absolutely in play for the Vikings at 18. Almost nobody is mocking him there, so this is very much a Paul take. But there is something behind this, I believe. And that is Ohio State defensive tackle Caden McDonald. Now, in the offseason, the Vikings released both of their starting interior tackles, Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave. Mitch, Pauly, get this. With those two guys gone, it leaves 1,300 vacated snaps at defensive tackle for Minnesota. 1,300. And that means the Vikings need to get to defensive tackle at some point. Why Caden McDonald? Because he is a superstar run defender, absolutely dominant for Ohio State last year. And the Vikings defensive coordinator, Brian Flores, he can manufacture pass push and blitz from anywhere on the field. He doesn't have to do it from his defensive tackle. They need big run stuffing defensive tackle more than they need a nose tackle that can press the quarterback, because they can get pressure a lot of different places from Brian Flores. I think McDonald comes in, he can neutralize A-gap runners. Flores can do his usual chicanery. And at plus 1,600, he's a player the Vikings have to be evaluating at 18, and that's my favorite long shot to come in for Minnesota.
Okay, then give us, in like 2 minutes here, give us another long shot here in the first round, non-Vikings related.
Omar Cooper is, I think he's being underrated. I think he's one of the 2 or 3 best wide receivers in this draft. This is the wide receiver from Indiana. I think he could go as high as pick 13 to the Rams. That's plus 1,200. Now, think about Sean McVay, and I'm going to describe the traits for Omar Cooper. Highly physical, fearless in traffic, both before and after the catch, elite body control, maybe the best in this draft class, super high effort guy, never quits on a play, elite tackle breaker, turns short passes into big plays, position versatility, plays the XYZ. That's Omar Cooper. Think about that fit for Sean McVay. And here's the Rams sitting at 13. Puka Nacua is in rehab. He hasn't gotten his second contract yet. Devontae Adams is probably in his last season, and there is zero depth after those two guys. And the Rams are a really good team. This is a luxury pick for them at 13, and out of that trade with the Falcons, and they've already solved their cornerback problem. They can go with a luxury pick like Omar Cooper, as I think he could go as high as 13 here, plus 1,200.
Wow, damn. Okay, very good. Yeah, follow him on X at Paul Charchian, friend of the show, hops on every week during the NFL season. And your Twitter bio says 2-time Hall of Famer. I only reference you as a fantasy
sports Hall of Fame and the Fantasy Sports Writers Hall of Fame. It's not like right. You don't get a gold jacket for those things.
Okay, I think you're maybe stretching the one real Hall of Fame bit into 2, but okay, I'll give you both. All right, have fun with the event tonight, buddy.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
He could be Cooper's agent.
No kidding.
It's a hell of a rundown.
Up next, tonight's Major League Baseball card short features some really good, intriguing matchups. And the Atlanta Braves have done something that no other team in the history of the sport accomplished through 25 games. I'll tell you what that is next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Following us, we have a special countdown to the NFL Draft show right here on VSiN, as Matt Brown is going to be your host for a full hour leading into the event at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. And he joins us in studio here now 90 minutes before showtime. How are you, Matt? Thanks for the time.
Doing great, man. It is Christmas morning for us NFL geeks, for sure. It is, listen, there's this sliver of hope for every team out there that has a first round pick, that you're going to get the guy that's going to alter your franchise. So there's at least a little bit of that out there.
Yep. Okay. So you've been betting this event for a long time.
Yeah.
You're into it like crazy. How difficult has it been for you to make bets and get a read of what's going to happen compared to previous drafts?
Yeah, I think there's kind of been a shift at least the last 3 years from my perspective, which is trying to figure out which sources are actually good sources and which sources are basically just kind of like glomming on, just want to be part of the conversation type deal, and I think we got really good information 5-6 years ago. I think we were getting some really good stuff that you could go in. Yeah, you still had to read the tea leaves and you still had to put it all together, but you could go, there's a line to getting there. And that number 7-1, that just doesn't add up, right? You can put in a nice ticket that you feel good about, that you feel like 1 out of 7 times, it's going to hit and you're going to get that thing home. But yeah, this year's been more difficult, honestly, for people out there that feel my pain on the Twitter side of things. Elon took my tweet deck away, which has also made things a lot more difficult. I don't have all my lists and all the things that I used to have and all of that, and that, breaking news and lines move and things like that are critical to us, for the stuff that we do that I didn't have access to either with it this year. So I have a portfolio that maybe I feel good about, we'll see. I guess we'll know here in a couple hours.
Well, yeah, you can make great bets though too, but if, Glazer's right and Pelissero's right, that if there's fireworks early, that this screws everything up if there's that big trade.
Yeah, the Penix thing, obviously everybody remembers that. I mean, that was completely out of nowhere, threw everything upside down, and then from that point on, unless you just had some weird stuff going on, you were probably sunk, and so hopefully we don't have a situation like that with this. Certainly not a Penix type situation. I can't imagine we're going to be talking about Ty Simpson going in the top 10 or anything like that, but certainly one weird trade can flip this thing.
So of the people who you do trust, when an insider like Peter Schrager comes out, and this is within the last half an hour or so, and says Ty Simpson's absolutely going first round tonight, he's minus 340 right now. Prediction markets, DraftKings in that area. Is that enough for you to say, I got to make a bet?
So I was pretty adamant that there was only going to be one quarterback taken in the first round, but then basically when the Seahawks, and I guess the Seahawks ended up saving me because with this report coming out too, but when the Seahawks basically came out and said, we are open for business. We have no interest in this pick whatsoever. We've got a really great roster. We don't have very many picks. We certainly could use extra picks. Give us all the phone calls. I was like, okay, now that's where things could get weird, right? Because if you really do value that whole 5th-year option, I think we as outsiders, maybe we value it more than the teams do themselves sometimes. But, if you really do value that, and it's not going to be that big of a deal to move up from a 34 to a 32, or something, you get you get an extra 6th rounder, whatever, you got to give a 6th rounder, something like that. I think that's well within reason of happening. And so that's kind of how I ended up on over 28.5 on Ty Simpson, because I didn't see a natural landing spot before that for him. And, I don't know, these reports are coming out that maybe there's multiple teams. I just couldn't connect the dots on him with these other teams, especially when you start to talk about, what's available next year, and not to get ahead of ourselves and all of that. But I mean, you start to Arch Manning, Dante Moore, Julian Sayin, DJ Lagway, Lenora Seller, CJ Carr. I mean, all of these guys are going to be there next year. You going Ty Simpson? I'm not a talent evaluator, but it seems like those guys have higher upside.
Well, both those bets could win over 20 and a half, certainly. And then him obviously to go 29, 30, 31, or 32 could come in. So what do you make of the steam right now on the number 2 overall pick? And it really is not even that much steam. It has flipped about a dozen times now in the last couple of days. It's flipped 3 times today. And currently speaking, Arvell Reese is minus 230. I'll tell you, it feels to me like in years past, if it was really going to be Reese, he'd be like up to like minus 1,000 by now.
I think this is people just guessing, you know, and maybe these are people I mean, I ended up on both sides of it at plus money. Maybe this is other people just trying to get in on both sides of it at plus money. I don't know if anybody really knows what's going on with all of that. I do think there is the narrative of, well, Arvell Reese is a project, so maybe the Jets don't want to, you know, do that. And Bailey, you can plug him in from day one. But I mean, if you're the Jets, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and understand you're not doing anything next year anyway. The coaching staff's going to be gone. Does it really matter? You know, if a guy's plug and play from day one, I'm leaning towards you probably. It's better for me if Bailey goes. Obviously, people, if you're looking at home, I have the plus 290 as opposed to plus 120 on that. It's better for me for Bailey, but I don't really get the logic behind the deal of, well, you know, it's going to take a couple of years for Arvell Reese to get going. Okay, you're the Jets. You're not going anywhere anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, it's probably better that he's good in year 3 than in year 1.
I liked your Maui Noah a couple days ago to go third at 15-1, and now Love is plus 110 to go third.
I know. I've kind of done this logically in years past, and it's worked out. And like these are a little bit older bets, you know, kind of when those markets first hit. And I just kind of looked at the Cardinals, and I was just like, okay, listen, it's financially irresponsible for you to take Love at 3. Like people are talking about like the team fits and stuff like that, but there's an economic thing to this as well. Like the 3rd overall pick is guaranteed $50 million. You know, I mean, like this is right out of the gate. It's nearly $13 million a year, like for a running back for a team that's going nowhere. So you can do that, I guess, and maybe that sells some jerseys and put some people in the stands or something. But I mean, there's a salary cap in the NFL. There's only so much of the pie to like go around, and like you're the Cardinals, and you look and you have all of this allocated to the running back position. You know, like right off the bat, I didn't get it, so I thought like, okay, they're punting on this season. They're going to go after one of those quarterbacks I just mentioned next year. So why not go get an offensive lineman to at least have that ready for whoever you get next year? Doesn't look like either one of those are going to cash. Looks like I'm going to lose both of those, but I was trying to be logical with it.
No, I get it. I get it for sure. So you're from the state of Louisiana.
Yes.
Then Daniel Jeremiah comes out last night and says for that 3rd pick overall, he mocked the Saints trading up to number 3. Have you heard anything else like that?
I have not. And like, I mean, I guess there's a world that exists that the Saints would do that, but there's a lot. I mean, that's a sweet. I mean, where they're at, like, in that's 6, 7, 8, 9. Like, I think that's a sweet spot in this draft. I mean, I think you are coming out with a really, really, really good player. So, I mean, unless you are just head over heels in love with somebody, I mean, I guess you could trade up in this draft and try to do that, but just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. But I'm not in the room, right? You know, and see what they think with these guys. I mean, I don't know what their big board looks like, but it certainly looks to me like you start talking about, you know, Styles and Downs and Bain and Delane and all of, they're all going to be there in that. You're coming out with a great player, like no matter what, you know.
Yeah. A trade feels like it would be forced to me.
Yeah.
How would you play like a top 3 exacta or top 5 exacta as we speak?
It looks to me like Mendoza, Reese. I'm not falling. I think that the Cardinals take whoever doesn't go to. I mean, I think it's Mendoza, Reese, Bailey, or Mendoza, Bailey, Reese. Like, I'm not falling for it. I could be proven wrong. It just seems, again, not only from a team fits standpoint, which again, we often talk about, but like, again, just the financials of it all, it just doesn't make a ton of sense with a team that's in rebuild to invest that much money at the running back position when you're going after another quarterback. Like, you're not moving forward with what you got right now. So don't you want to build around that? Don't you want to make it easiest on him? And I know people are going to say, well, it's easy if you bring Jeremiah Love in. Ish. Look at the Genty situation, right? I mean, it's like if you don't have a line, if you don't have the talent around to help, that can only get you so far.
Is there a player that maybe right now on the board that you would look at as a 1st round pick that still has some like decent odds out there? We had Doug Kazarian on yesterday. He brought up Downs from Florida. He was 5-1. Now he's like plus 120 to go.
Yeah, I don't know what the odds are looking like currently on Chris Johnson, but like that whole cornerback situation, for me, I think the cornerback position just in general is a little wonky because teams value different things when it comes to the cornerback position. Some like length, some guys like just pure speed, some like, you know, physical corners. So the fact that the whole medical stuff ended up coming up with McCoy and that it looks like maybe he could even slip out of the 1st round now, I think that that really opens up the door for Hood and Johnson to be that second corner taken and definitely go in the first round.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So your show is coming up next at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern time. How are you going to navigate the waters going into the draft?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to sit here and I don't know if it's unfortunately or fortunately, I guess, for us that the stuff cuts off 24 hours in advance. Maybe that saved me money over the years. I don't know. Maybe it lost me money. Maybe it saved me money over the years. So we don't, have access to getting in live, at least from that aspect. Obviously, there's the other stuff with prediction markets and things like that if you wanted to get involved with all of that. But I mean, I do think that if you're in a market, and I'll try to be pointing these angles out and stuff along the way, but I do think that, if you're in a market out there that allows live betting and different stuff, I think you can start to read the tea leaves a little bit, at least after we get past 3 and see where 3 goes, and then might have a decent idea where 4 and 5.
Matt, thank you. Have a great show. You're going to kill it. You love this event. And good luck, by the way, with the bets tonight. Hope it comes in for you.
You guys as well.
There you go. Matt Brown coming up after us. Countdown to draft. And we'll get to our best bets with in-pocket plays coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.